Hey there everyone, this is Adamantium here again. I know this isn't the kind of video that I normally do, but the kind of day that today is, I feel compelled to make a video, and especially since one of my friends has made a video on this sort of thing. I've felt inspired and fueled up to make one myself. Today is what's come to be known as Remembrance Sunday, which is a day to just remember as the title suggests, just to remember and honour those who have died in past military conflicts. The thing is, though, one thing I find quite contradictory about the act itself is the fact that it's just remembering. It's not any form. There's no form of active campaigning to move out of the conflict paradigm itself. There's no support for the idea of actually eradicating war itself once and for all. And part of the reason for that is, it was quite indicative of one of the, because I shared one of my friend's comments, statuses on this, and there was this woman that was commenting saying that that there will always be war, and essentially saying that war is inevitable and that there's nothing we can do. There will always be war, animal and child abuse, and considering that this woman proudly displays her children on her Facebook page is very concerning to me. That she thinks that war will always be inevitable. I really it just really sort of like got my goat, because essentially what she's saying is if you think that war is inevitable and that it will never stop, and essentially you're giving your tacit consent and sanction and support for the act of warfare itself. There's no getting around it. If you think that war will always happen, then you are basically saying that war should always happen. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like when I spoke to those cadets in the front lobby part of the co-op in Cranbrook. They were basically saying that there's essentially there's nothing we can do. Every alternative that I posed to them, the guy, the lance corporal that I was speaking to, saying, well that won't work because there's still a problem there, and every alternative I was presenting, he was shooting down. I should have actually said, tell you what alternative can I propose that you won't immediately try to shoot down? Any alternative besides the idea of constantly sending young men and women out to fight, kill, and die. For what? I mean, we keep getting told that the soldiers are fighting for our freedom and they're fighting for our country, and I'm sorry to break it to you, but they're not. Okay, they're not. They're not fighting for your freedom. Right? If soldiers are fighting for our freedom, then basically next year will mark the 100-year anniversary of the end of the First World War. Is it the end of the First World War? No, the beginning of the First World War. My mistake. So for 100 years. We've been doing this whole thing in the sort of like mainstream sort of like acknowledged, yes, First and Second World War. I mean that's the main two conflicts that the Poppy campaign, that the Poppy appeal has been, centred on, and the whole thing about remembrance. It's mainly been about the First and Second World War, but now it's encompassing like all conflicts. But it never reaches the point where we think to ourselves, do you know what? How about if we were to try and adopt the attitude that war should never happen ever again? You know, the reason why we don't do that is because we're engendered into these, and we're conditioned into these ideas that war is inevitable, that we're a violent species, that it's human nature to be violent. Well, do you think that with the attitude that war will always happen and that we can never stop it, do you really think that's the kind of attitude that will be successful in stopping war? No, I seriously doubt it. But if no one supported war, would war happen? No. Very much like if like say for example, if you were a chocolate manufacturer or something and you brought out a new chocolate bar, right? And if no one liked it, would you be able to keep selling it? If no one liked it, and hence no one bought it, why would you keep selling it or trying to sell it? If say for example, if your entire business was centred around the sale of this one chocolate bar that no one liked, would you stay in business? No. And that's the thing. People are conditioned to support war, and people keep war going because people are taught that war will never stop. But if we had the idea that war can stop and that war will stop, then what will happen to war? It'll eventually stop. If no one shows up to fight, then you got no war. Okay? And that's the thing. We need to be supporting directions that will provably end conflict once and for all. We need to stop waxing lyrically and saying, "Oh yeah, we need to support our troops," and no, that's just supporting war. Why should we think that, supporting the act of institutionalized murder? Because let's cut out all the bullshit here. It is murder, okay? And the reason why the establishment itself won't support the move away from the need for war is because, as Smedley D. Butler said, war is a racket. War makes so much money. And take just for example the recent Iraq war that was waged by the Bush administration. Take for example the fact that we were bombing their countries. We were bombing the Middle East for decades, and when they've snapped back, we go, "Oh, they're terrorists," and then we send our troops in there again to completely subdue the nation, and subjugate the people, and militarily occupy the place, and then we wonder why the Middle East supposedly keeps attacking us. I mean, Ron Paul said it perfectly. I mean, you can look it up. There's a video on YouTube called, I think it's something to the effect of "Ron Paul Courageously Tells the Truth," and essentially he says, they don't hate us because we're free. They hate us because we've been over there. We've been bombing their countries for over 10 years. We've built permanent military bases in their country. why do we think that we're the innocent ones who are being attacked by these terrorists when we are the ones who are sending troops and bombs over there to kill their people? Why do we think we're the innocent ones and that we should be the ones who should be, placated with the idea that, yeah, we're the greatest country in the world and, we think we're the moral arbiters. We're not. We're the ones who wage war for money and resources. Because think about it this way. How much money was made through that Iraq war? Because not just the fact that we sent all those munitions over to the other country, virtually destroyed their infrastructure, and then we arrange construction contracts to build pipelines and to rebuild their country. So we make money bombing them and we make money rebuilding them. And and building military bases in their country as well. So why should we count ourselves as the moral arbiters, And but yeah, that's really what I wanted to say on this day, because really, I mean, the whole poppy thing, and did you know that that heroin comes from the opium poppy? Granted, it's not the same like red poppy that you see people wearing, but it's still the same genus of flower, But really, the idea that war will be is inevitable and that there's nothing we can do about it. So the best we can do is remember those who have died. They died for our country and our freedom, even though we're still not free. So we need to send some more troops over to die for our freedom. The more troops we send to die for our freedom, the freer we will be. So maybe we need to kill all the troops. We need to send them in. We need to send them into. What's the word? I can't remember the word. Send them into loads of traps, and because I think if we kill them all, then they've all died for our freedom, and maybe that will grant us freedom. You see that? I mean, you may be thinking, what the hell am I talking about? But that is where that train of thought leads. That troops die for your freedom. Okay? If you truly think that troops die for your freedom, why don't you advocate that they should all die, and then maybe that will create our freedom? You don't advocate that because that's ridiculous. You just carry around that notion superficially, because if you think any further into it, then you realise where that train of thought leads, and it doesn't lead to a humane place. That's one of the reasons why I don't support war. I don't wear a poppy. Do you know what you need to remember those who have died? A brain. You need a brain with a memory. That's what you need to remember. And when you remember, Christ, war is a bitch. Maybe you should think to yourself, maybe we shouldn't impose that on anyone else. Maybe we shouldn't keep sending people to die for our benefit. Why is it a moral thing to send someone else to kill and die for your own benefit when you're sat at home? It's moral cowardice, and it doesn't work. Like I said, if people killing and dying for our freedom work, then why aren't we free? Because they're not fighting for your freedom. They're fighting for the corporate interests that their masters are beholden to. They're fighting and killing and dying for the resources that their country want to exploit from other countries. GOD, gold, oil, drugs. They're the things that the troops are fighting for now. The only thing is, they've had, their brains have been shrink wrapped in flags. Think about it. So when you think about remembering, how about you take that memory of death, destruction, despotism, and think, crikey, this shouldn't happen. This shouldn't happen anymore. No more. No fighting. Okay? No more conflict. No more war. Because if we really do support our troops, then for one thing, bring them home. If you support the troops, bring them home. And if you do really honour the memories of those who have died, then maybe you would be better maybe that honour would be better suited being pointed in a direction of supporting and creating the conditions where war isn't necessary anymore. Because I'll bet that all those servicemen that have fought and died are figuratively spinning in their graves when you wear a poppy on your lapel and say, oh yeah, I remember our troops, but yeah, let's kill those ragheads in the Middle East. How is that learning? It's not learning. We're not learning as a species. Every single time a soldier dies, no matter what country they're supposedly fighting for, no matter what ideology they're running under the banner of, every single one of them that dies is a lesson that they shouldn't have to die, that we shouldn't be killing them. We should actually be moving forwards towards a sustainable and equitable and fair and happy and free society for all of us. How the hell can we actually achieve that while bombing each other? And like Jacques Fresco once said when he was on Larry King, when he was saying about the different organs in your body, I use that analogy quite a lot to illustrate that picture, instead of internal organs, imagine your whole body as the planet and your internal organs as the different countries, And when you think about that, can your body survive if it's constantly fighting? But it's so strange that on the day after what would have been Carl Sagan's 79th birthday, we're still stuck in this remembrance crap where we're glorifying war. People say, "Oh no, we're not supporting war. We're just remembering." Yeah, and that's as deep as their propaganda goes, because they just keep repeating it. And when I hold them to task, all they do is bring up logical fallacies. So with that in mind, I think we need to move more in the Carl Sagan direction, and I'll give his my favourite quote of his, where he says, "The old appeals to racial, sexual, religious chauvinism, to rabid nationalist fervour, are beginning not to work. A new consciousness is developing which sees the earth as a single organism and recognises that an organism at war with itself is doomed. We are one planet." But that's all for me. Take care.